maximize. Put the flag of the United States of America into the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just wanted to take 1 minute to recognize that we lost a teacher from Glenwarden. Ms. Gray brought it to my attention. John George was a longtime teacher at Glenwarden who recently passed. And he meant a lot to the kids in the school. He's a local resident, and just wanted to take a minute to recognize his passing and thank him posthumously for his service he meant. I got to know him when I was on the school board. He was a really nice guy.
He was a wonderful man, and he was affiliated, him and his wife were affiliated with College St. Rose Alumni Board. And I think he's known to the residents in the Scotia Glenville area because he had a Christmas tree farm in his backyard. It was really quite beautiful. And the local residents would pick out their Christmas trees all year round and tag them. And even kissing balls, homemade kissing balls, and he really took the extra effort to make the people, the families there, really happy about the Christmas celebration. So thank you, John Jordan, for giving back to your community. You're a wonderful man with great enough.
Did a lot to promote treatment for ALS as well.
Yeah.
Okay. On the agenda, we have 6 actual items to go over. I have to add 2. First is a discussion of property code compliance. Recently, there's been a number of emails and letters coming to the village regarding compliance with the codes. Trustee Gray and I have met to discuss some options of keeping better track of things. As you remember, when Chief Wood brought forward his request for software for the fire department, one of the components of that was a code violation software. It's not been installed yet, but it will be. They're still doing the training on the other part. It's the next piece. So what we're planning to do now is using this software to track every single public complaint or inter-village complaint and bring forward the resolutions on a monthly basis in the building inspector's report, so that we have a record of what came in, what was done, and the time frame as to what was done. One of the other things I'd like to do, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this one, is I'd like the idea of possibly on a bi-weekly basis, maybe sending out a portion of our code as a reminder to folks. I've been thinking about doing that with some of the park rules, just to get them out there in the public, to remind people, not as an excuse for not complying, but really just to enlighten people. We do have a lot of new people, and although they're they are given a handbook when they come in. It doesn't actually have all of the rules in it, so I just thought maybe we would highlight a bunch of the rules which we most frequently see problems with and remind folks of those rules and the process by which they need to comply. Does that make sense to folks, that idea of doing that? That's not an excuse for not following.
I mean, we need to have better tracking and technology oftentimes leads to, you know, better tracking into resolution. You know, the one thing that I do have just some general concern about is, you know, discretion.
Yeah.
You know, there are codes and violations that are public safety concerns that get discovered during, you know, commercial rental properties. You know, there's also safety issues with, you know, bombed out sidewalks, which, you know, tend to appear more in front of multifamily non-owner occupied units. And I think making people aware of the sidewalk program and the responsibility and liabilities they have of having bombed out sidewalks is definitely needs to be addressed. You know, but I also, we have in some of our codes that are there to kind of help, like, you know, identify zombie properties, you know, but there's also some village codes that feel more like HOA regulations. And, you know, a $100 fine on, you know, an elderly person or a low income family, you know, because they're unable to afford a cosmetic repair or something like that. I think we need to be able to have, you know, compassion with dealing with. You know, I also, you know, maybe this is a little libertarian in me, what goes on in a backyard behind a fence shouldn't bother another neighbor, unless it's creating a health or public safety concern. And I just want to make sure we have, you know, clear guidelines and understanding on, you know, are our codes still relevant today, or are they a little bit overbearing?
So I will make sure that anything that we put together goes out to everybody first. So we can have, you know, a little discussion around. That may be one that is a little overbearing or a little bit outdated, or there are some definite outdated ones.
Because enforcing code oftentimes can lead to neighbor disputes. We see it. And the neighbor disputes go on and on and on and on, and impacts the quality of life in the neighborhood. We've seen it play out in certain areas around fences, and I just think that's something, you know, our building inspector and staff need to be, you know, empowered to have use their judgment and discretion.
I do think the accountability would be very helpful so that we know. We can track. And then we can make a decision on some of those as well. I know we've spoken.
We've spoken, I'll just briefly state that there are some codes that are very integrated in today's day and age. The building inspector does have some discretion with regards to alleged violations. I know in the past I've seen it firsthand in my I don't think any guidance that we set forth as to time guidelines, because we don't want neighborhood disputes.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the strategic plan to kind of set in place where zoning is correctly placed and where it's not. And look at some historical activity and see where it's worked and where it hasn't. And as far as the code enforcement too. It's just, there are a lot of things that are overlooked for one reason or another, you know, and I see them every day close to my house as well. You know, there's also things that we could, you know, pay a little more attention to as well. So it's I think it's good to track so you can get a historical report. It would be great too to try and find any of the paper files that you could put into there to have that historical report be a little bit more current rather than starting fresh. So I think it's good to go back and look at what's been done and what can be done and what should be done throughout a lot of different things. So.
Thank you. So I'm going to, thanks everyone. I'm going to hold on to it for till Keith is here. This only.
I mean, well, so with this codes discussion, can we get, I know a lot's in village code, but maybe on a one pager, what are the codes that we are talking about?
Yep.
And get them in a one pager so that perhaps we can review and evaluate.
Yep. Definitely makes sense.
Because there's also, if we're talking about codes, there's also elements of noise, noise complaints. We had issues with musical instruments and, where again, neighbors are calling, police on, the neighbor's kid practicing the drum in their garage. So like, that needs to be kind of looked at.
It's actually one of the ones I wanted to.
Right, because right now, if I'm a professional singer, if I were to sing in my house and I had a neighbor who did not like my singing, as village code is stated, the police department can come and tell me not to sing.
I'm singing. Trustee Brown.
Hello,
Trustee Brown, we held off. Like, you went slow to the song.
great. Good time?
We're gonna do zoning. So we got two zoning things on the agenda today. Jamie Stegman did a lot of work in pulling together a whole bunch of pieces around zoning. She had joined the zoning board and was sort of plopped in it. And so one of the things she talked about was like having an improved onboarding document. And then just having a discussion on zoning board. If you want to.
Yeah, so I had a similar experience when I joined, and Lydia was very helpful in terms of providing us some initial kind of training. But there was little by the way of kind of formal onboarding, in terms of documents and other stuff to review, except to review the code, review some of the training materials that NICOM and other places have sort of put out. So Jamie, to her credit, really sort of took that sort of like what you don't get on the front end and put it into a whole document that I think is really thorough. And so I guess and then had some suggestions about training because the proposal was sort of like, okay, we don't meet every month or even sometimes more than once every 6 months or something. So could we schedule some meetings where either Lydia or someone else does some training to help people with sort of the training hours, be able to answer questions, things like that. And then also my addition to that would really be some basics around Robert's rules and sort of like how to run a meeting, which I know, like I said, Lydia's done a good job of providing, but just some frame of reference for people for like, what the expectations of the meeting, what are you going to be kind of dealing with? I mean, some of our suggestions, I think, like the mayor and I talked about it, is like there was a request sort of for like a badge or something to be able to identify yourself as a member of that group. And while I think badge probably is a step too far, you know what I mean? We don't want people like deputized to feel like they're running around. But it brought up an interesting question for me because I even found that when I was on that group that if you're walking around neighborhoods or walking around someone's house, not even on their property, but sort of eyeballing what is up for review, you sort of want something on you to be able to say like, oh, hey, I'm not just a creeper here. I have a clear role, and so here's what that role is. And so even whether it's like a little laminated card or something that we provide the members with so that they can sort of feel a little more comfortable acting in an official capacity, I think that was good. So that's sort of the reason why she put that stuff together. And I think the question up for discussion is like, what's the process if we wanted to formalize that? Does that need an actual action from this group, or can I, as liaison to that group, just say like, hey, looks good, let's do it?
I do think they should have ID cards, though.
Yeah.
Like that, maybe that word was used inadvertently, I don't know, like an ID,
Yeah,
you know, an ID.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you have for the employee, yeah. Something with the village seal on it that says you're a member of the zoning board of appeals, and yeah.
Wouldn't you kind of dissolve some of the need for that by like maybe scheduling a visit for what you're talking about rather than having the individuals just walk around?
So the problem is that you're dealing with neighbors who sometimes aren't friendly to what's happening. So probably couldn't do that. That was at least my experience, is like when you have neighbors beefing about something and it's in, hey,
Oh.
Read that one.
That's the cascading comment.
Too bad we didn't have the lights off here, we could have solved.
Well, that's a good point. But
that's a great suggestion, though.
yeah, no, I mean, like for anything more public in nature, right?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
more pedestrian.
Yeah, I do agree with George. I think when possible, doing them in a group is probably the best thing to do.
Yeah, and I mean,
Less
expecting
disruptive.
someone who's volunteering their time and their commitment to the community. In these trying times, there's lots of threats of danger that come from this stuff too. So
And like people don't like the government, and they don't like when people come sniffing around their property around stuff. So like,
or
someone
they don't know.
that's what I mean. Like it could go south
So
Very fast.
very fast.
I think, couple of things, I think the well, members of the zoning board do need to view the property, and many, I mean, obviously, you're not gonna go in someone's backyard without the permission. But if not, hopefully they've given you pictures. So I do think it's important, to the extent you can, that you visit the property. Two, I think in these busy days, going as a group might be difficult, trying to get people together.
Yeah.
You also don't want to put yourself in a situation while you can visit somewhere as a group. You don't want to potentially violate the open meetings law by starting to exit,
Right.
starting to
Good
discuss.
point.
Talk about it.
Well, I mean, that would be something that's scheduled, right? The zoning board's going to go meet at this place to discuss blah, blah, blah. There's certain things that it could work for, and there's certain things that it's not appropriate for.
Yeah.
But then the public, then, yes. So, but I mean, if you're doing it as a meeting, then the public can,
Right.
It is hard for everyone to go as a group. When I was on zoning board, I go
Yeah.
just by myself, view the property, and then come back with
Yeah.
the recommendation.
I-
I would just say an ID card. and leave it at that.
Yeah, I agree. And my own experience on that board is like, it's hard enough to get everybody to come to the meeting.
Yeah, maybe we should put the whole sentence at the bottom of the application for advise people that members of the zoning board may be
That's a great idea.
talking about the property, so they
That's
they might accept to see people walking around.
That's an excellent, honestly, like, I mean, unless anybody objects, like, I would say, let's ask him to update that form tomorrow.
I mean, I think it's, so yes, you can have pictures, right? But pictures oftentimes can be a little deceiving or misleading, or not necessarily, based on the angle, it could show that there's more space than there actually is. So the in-person visit, I think, is important. I think if we need to have a disclosure on an application stating that village officials, because Board of Appeals members, as well as planning board members are appointed officials of
Sworn in.
village, will, come and could come and view the property with, again, proper notice, right? You just can't show up at someone's property, like, they need to be given notice that they're gonna come to look at the site. In terms of this, what Jamie came up with, I think is a great, training, a great orientation packet, for the zoning board members, and I really thank her for taking the initiative to do that and using her experience as a new zoning board member and her dedication to it to do this. I think oftentimes the zoning board in particular is an underappreciated board. No one really knows what they do or why they exist. But we have a village code, right? And it goes through the site review process. But when people want to do things outside of it, they have to go to the zoning board to get a variance. And, a variance granted has a permanent impact upon the village. Some of what we're actually dealing with now in terms of our parking are a direct connection to zoning variances that were given to once former single-family homes now are creating issues within the neighborhood. So to have a well-trained, dedicated and committed zoning board of appeals going forward, I think is important. And this document gets us in a very good direction.
We actually have a full planning board. I gotta add the one she's missing here.
Now, the guidebook that was given, this looks like it was created by the Environmental Finance Center at Syracuse University.
Oh, which one?
This
The,
was one of the other
Oh, this one?
documents,
Yes.
a guidebook for local officials.
Yep.
Is that something that's also going to be given with the handout that Jamie created?
did you see this one?
I have.
Okay.
That is TBD. That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. Steve,
Yeah.
make sure you have it. Yeah, the only other thing, there was some changes on this. Trustee Brown, there is more than just 1.5 hours of zoning board of appeals trainings that can be done online. So I just there's
Yeah.
1.5 that is directly associated
Yes.
with that, but
Correct.
there's others that you can.
But also, like, I feel like,
I
in
just
that
wanna be,
onboarding, in that onboarding can be like, hey, here's some other links for some trainings you can do.
Exactly.
Like, I'll just speak for myself, like, I was having trouble meeting my training hours until someone pointed out to me that there's a form that you can go and do your own trainings and then attest to the thing. And so I then just read through all of the state training documents about zoning and about zoning board of appeals.
Did it.
And you said, okay, this is how long it took me, and then you do it. Like, that's not clear, I think, to people on the front end.
Yeah, I think that,
And I think the training requirement can be a barrier for people to do it, because it's like you're already busy and now you're carving out time to do meetings and whatever stuff you need to do in between the meetings. And then, oh, here's a bunch of trainings that happen like during the day that you could go to or attend or whatever.
we lost one person because of the training.
That's what I mean. And so I just think like the more flexibility. So then the question I have in front of this group is, do people want to take a look and edit besides the mayor? Because I know the mayor's already had some feedback on the documents. I have some feedback on the documents. Or like, can we adopt them with those slight changes as a
Yeah, I'd like to.
working, what is the word I'm looking for? Like as a trial, see how it goes for a while, and then we can adjust if we need to.
So we all support the concept.
I definitely support the concept. I question whether or not it needs board approval, because so long as it, follows village code and has the sign off by our village attorney, I'm okay with it just being put into practice without board action, so long as our council.
Great.
Yeah, I don't think we have to vote on it. This was more of a discussion.
So then can I make a request for next steps? Can you read through it and make any edit till you get it to a point where you're willing to sign off on it, and then we'll just do it?
Well, let's send her anything you have,
Yeah,
what I have, and then
exactly.
we'll get it.
And I'll say that I think the other thing is, we had the same clerk for many, many years. And we should probably just have a short list for the clerk of the zoning board. So that they know what they should be giving a new member with every
Who happens to be sitting next to you?
time. So, but, you know, there's been a
Yeah,
lot of
I agree.
changeover, so it's easy, you know, the same person has done it for 25 years, but.
Yeah, it was difficult. We went through clerk changes.
Right,
of-
so they
of
should
both.
have something to refer to too.
Yeah.
So-
So
I have a general question that may impact, again, the type of material. So, you know, the zoning board really only meets on an as needed basis. And, you know, I think when I was liaison, it meant like once in the 4 years that I was there. Are there other applications where a zoning board could be used? Whether it be, looking at our zoning map, proposing changes for updates in zoning, or is that more of a planning board thing? The other element is if we are going to be seriously considering, you know, a remodel of parking overlooks, you know, is there a way for the zoning board to be involved, to take a look at some of the multifamily units that may have a driveway issue that is self-created from the variance that might have been granted 50 years ago?
So let me answer your first one. Because I do think there's a role that they can play in reviewing our current zoning maps and learning them and understanding them and giving us feedback as to what they see as issues, not to take away the work we have to do with it. But it would be nice to get a set of eyes. You and I have looked at them. I think it'd be a really good exercise because they all want to work. All
Yeah.
4 of the members
True.
are asking to do stuff. It's not, it would definitely give them, and it's not an issue. It's sort of like a group that we're asking to do some work with us and report back to us. So I think it's definitely,
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I think in terms of the parking thing, I know we're not talking about that tonight, but in terms of the overnight parking thing, I think to Justin's point, that is a great application for that group who is used to going out and looking at things and thinking critically about it. Like, they could be the boots on the ground on some level for this to report back and say, hey, we went to that house. It's got a driveway that's got space for 2 cars in it or whatever, and report back. And that also saves on police time too, because otherwise we talked about, exactly.
Traffic control is one of the areas that they're supposed to look at when they're
Right.
issuing an area variance.
Yep,
sure, definitely.
I'm in, I'm all in. Love it. Great, so we've got action steps. David,
Yeah, I need-
so,
just so you know, before I forget this.
Yeah.
I still need 1 more zoning board member. I have 4 now. I'd like to get a full load of FEP 5. And it's very difficult to get, people willing to be,
So I have a potential name to recommend that you just need to be reached out to. It's
this is
Jessica
what
Ross.
I did.
She's a master's degree student in all these in the village. She's actually
How
in
much I have-
environmental.
I ever.
Yeah, it is. Great, thanks. So you and I, so you've already started editing. Do you want to finish your edits
Yes.
and then send it, and then I'll add edits, and then Lydia?
Because I gotta put some names in here, yes.
Great, love
And
it.
then I'll send this to Lydia right away though.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for indulging.
Yeah, thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. She put a lot of work into it.
So village business director. So evidently the history of the village board directory was the mayor went around to every single business and asked them if they would like to be identified as a business in the village. I'm not 100% sure I can get to every single business driving around and knocking on their door in the village and asking them. One thing that I thought would be an ideal way to handle this, would be more along the lines of having an online form that if you are a business in the village.
Yep.
You can complete, and that would put your name on this directly.
Yep.
The other option, which you and I have had discussions about this, is, you know, in a sense, this would be a business district kind of activity, but our business district, our bid is Mohawk Avenue, and we have many businesses outside of just Mohawk Avenue. And so,
Is it just brick and mortar businesses as opposed to?
well, that's a good question.
I love the idea of doing a forum and saying, and putting word out there and saying, if you are a business whose business address, or you provide services in the village, or I don't know, however we want to word it. If you are located in the business, I guess is the way I would say it, fill out this form and we'll get you in the directory. But we're talking about a paper directory.
No, this is a directory that, there is a list on our website.
That directory, okay.
Justin, you look like you want to say something.
I'm trying to form my words in the nicest way possible.
I mean, I'm more than willing not to have anybody store, but it just seems.
What is the intent of this?
Well, it's out.
How do we know when a business goes out of business? What is the role of village government in promoting businesses? What do we do in the case where you might have a business that now discloses themselves as operating in a building that is not actually zoned business or non-conforming?
Okay, so let me add.
Yeah. I think we should leave this up to Google.
It has already been recommended to me that we take the business directory completely out.
I agree.
Where I think, what I think.
Nobody's going to the website to look for a local business.
Right, they'll go to GoToScotia.com or the Chamber of Commerce.
Or Google it.
Or Google it. So, but what I will say on that webpage, we should have, a list of vacant commercial properties that someone could start a business in. We could have a handbook on how to start a business in the Village of Scotia. What permits do you need to get? Who do you need to talk to? Are you in the bid? Are you not in the bid? I think there is some stuff that we can do that is more village appropriate than just putting up a directory.
I'm going to speak to
And
our consultant on this part, because when we were in Vision Scotia, that's one of the
Correct.
thoughts we had. Let's go, sorry, George.
we were invited to a mixer with the Business Improvement District last week, and Trustee Gray and I were able to attend, and one of the questions I asked too was that's one of the real good questions about business within the Village of Scotia. Let's not just include the Business Improvement District. So to get like all of the businesses' voices heard or acknowledged it would be a goal in my humble opinion, rather than just the Business Improvement District.
I agree with that, and the businesses that did attend the bid, some were listed, others were not, and I went to look at the directory, and there's a lot of out-of-date ones that are in the.
They're aware of that.
But perhaps even to simplify it, maybe a link, I know that when I stopped by the clerk's office, they did have a conversation with Ms. Smith. And she said to me, maybe we can, so that we don't have to continue to update that, maybe we can just provide a link to those users on the website looking for businesses. And maybe we can mention it too. I know we haven't had a ribbon cutting in a while, but perhaps just have a nice welcoming for new businesses that are right on Mohawk Avenue and in the community.
Yep.
I just think this is part of a bigger, not having a business directory is not going to make or break starting a business
Correct.
in the Village of Scotia. It's not going to drive people to a business located in the Village of Scotia. I think what we need to do is put together a task force of those business owners to have an open and honest conversation on what are the barriers to business growth and development, find ways to become the most business friendly village we possibly can, and then create a guide or handbook that walks small business owners through what they need to do to prepare to open up shop, including permits, regulations, licenses, permits, even vending permits. What's allowed and not allowed, almost like a business handbook, if you would. But I think getting into the business of keeping and maintaining a directory, first of all, that's not something that can be done on a part-time mayor salary or time. And, if the businesses want to put this together and give it to the village and maintain it and keep it,
That's different.
it's different. But I think our time is better used on.
Yeah, and I'm gonna talk to our Vision Scotia people, some potential steps for what we're just talking about.
With that said, I'd be more than happy to go out and take an inventory of either vacant or developable properties or areas for infill development and vacant storefronts that we can put up on the village website.
That would be,
I do think that
Great to
we
put up on the
should all
website.
sort of do that, is weird. Because we're all in different parts of the village.
Trustee Cook, though, will sing this way.
I will be singing my way through the village.
We wanna keep this.
Do you want to keep this?
You're a good singer though, I've heard you, so.
and how would you categorize the Bly Road Market? Would you categorize that as a?
Oh.
Never mind.
Underutilized structure.
When I first moved to the village, they had such great sandwiches.
It's, man, when I moved in, man, that was, I survived on that place. You could go get a sub, beverages.
Mhm.
When I was working on my house, man, I wouldn't have survived.
But this is all part of changing.
Great conversation.
Anyway, sorry.
It's a very good conversation, thank you.
And that was-
We have a resolution.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to waive park use fees for the Scotia Glenville class of 2028 fun run / walk this Sunday, October 9th,
12.
October 12th, 2025.
Seconded.
Any questions on this?
October 9th.
It's just mind boggling to me to think of the class of 2028. It's like, it's there already.
Yup.
All in favor?
Some of us have kids in the class of 2020.
I know, it's,
I do want to just shout out to Sheila. She is a student leader from Scotia Glenville, who is kind of running and taking lead on this activity. She is an avid runner.
Marino?
Yeah.
Marino?
Mary's
Nice.
Thursday.
And, she has this idea as a way to raise money for her class.
Awesome.
And, she, has been working directly with our Parks Department, understanding everything that she needs to do, all the permits and park applications, working with her advisor to ensure insurance. How many 9th graders or 10th graders do you know, that learn about the importance of insurance? So kudos to Sheila. Thank you for doing this. And I wish you all this.
just a couple quick things. One is tomorrow there'll be a constant contact going out about an open house that the chief is having at the firehouse. As you know, we've asked for there to be some
It's awesome.
events here.
October is fire prevention.
Yeah, so we'll be, having that here. I need to go into exec with folks for literally a 5-minute conversation on the contract. We do not meet tomorrow. You know, it's the second Wednesday, we meet next week. Okay?
I make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel contracts.
I'll second.
Hey, do you need anything? You guys know.